going live. We're alive. It's live. Hi, folks. I'm Brian.
I'm Amber, and I'm going to be off camera because it is a million degrees in here.
Yes, it is a warm day in here today. It's like 80 degrees in here. I'm not wearing the jacket today. You'll have to forgive me. Oh, thank you, Mr. Super Plush. Hopefully you enjoy the episode today. So let me know if you folks can hear me all right. Hopefully it's like good.
And I'm going to disappear now.
The embers
Melting
disappearing.
away.
Like, oh, sounds good. Oh, for a second there I was worried. And it's like, we'll see. We'll see what kind of delay we got going on here. So hopefully not too bad. But welcome to the to the live 2023 June live stream. I assure you this was not pre-recorded. I can pinch myself and I'm not asleep. Welcome, Dragon Lord. Welcome, Amy and Maisie and Mr. Super Plush. We're happy to have you here today. And I guess what we'll do is we'll dive straight into the stories. And yeah, we've got a really good set of stories today, so hopefully you enjoy them. Our first letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Tell My Best Friend About Her Boyfriend's Surprise Wedding Plans, even though he asked me to keep it a secret? I'm a 25-year-old female, and I have a best friend, Sarah, a 26-year-old female. Sarah's boyfriend, Adam, recently called me to discuss a surprise wedding. He wants me to distract Sarah the whole day and surprise her with her. I guess I messed up already here. We're losing steam. And surprise her with her family and all of her friends in the backyard, and they get married in the backyard. I told him that I'm not sure that this is what she wants, knowing that she would hate this. And she hates surprises, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings, as Sarah loves organizing and planning things. She has talked about getting married previously and wants a winter wedding. Sarah had recently confided in me about drifting away from Adam and thinking about taking a break. I was quite shocked to hear Adam planning a wedding, a surprise one at that, in front of all of our family and friends. I encouraged him to instead have a more intimate proposal, as opposed to a surprise wedding. But Adam told me that I didn't know what Sarah wants, and he knows better. I told him to talk to her about what she wants in a wedding. Hopefully, she would bring up her winter wedding, or what she told me about her relationship to him. Adam is insisting on the surprise wedding, however, and says that he will ask Sarah's sister to distract her the whole day instead. I told him that I feel obligated to tell her, as I know that she hates surprises, and I want her to feel prepared and not ambushed to the event. He called me the jerk. I did initially agree to keep the plan a secret, but that was when I thought this was a private proposal, and even then, I asked him to discuss the future with her first. I don't want to cause drama in the relationship by telling Sarah, and I could be the jerk if I did that. I would ask my boyfriend for advice, but he can't keep a secret, and works with Adam. Edited to add, I feel obligated to tell her, as if it was me, I would want to know. If it was something that she does want, however, I can see how I would be the jerk. Also, as Adam has told me about it, so I feel if I stayed silent that she would hate the surprise, and then if she found out that I knew the whole time, she would be upset. All right, folks, what do you think of this one?
I think you would definitely not be the jerk for telling her, and in fact, I think that's the morally right thing to do. Like, it's one thing to have a surprise proposal because, like, even if they're public, you can still hand the ring back at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But a surprise wedding expects you to legally commit to another person.
Yeah. Well, this feels like coercion.
Mm-hmm.
this feels like what he wants to do is try to like push her into getting married.
Yeah, he might be feeling that distance and he is like, oh, gotta reel her in before she runs off.
Yeah, and I mean, what better way to entrap someone by making them feel obligated to marry you?
Yeah, ambush them with all their family and friends there watching them.
Yeah.
And like, the thing is, OP knows this is exactly what her friend doesn't want. And clearly her partner doesn't know her very well if he genuinely thinks this is something she would enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
that's best case scenario, he's absolutely clueless and doesn't know her, and probably they shouldn't get married. Worst case scenario, he's actively malicious.
Yeah, yeah. And I really think that those are probably the malicious, if I
Mm-hmm.
had to guess, would probably be more likely than the non-malicious. Well, let me know what you folks think. Is this an active act of like trying to like secure her because he feels the distance, or do you think this is just I just don't know my partner? So a lot of folks have chimed in here. Hi, Mary. Welcome to the live stream. Hi, Morgan. Welcome to the live stream.
Hi, everyone.
Amber is roasting hot, like I
Yes, I'll
said.
poke my head in for one more second so I
so-
can say hi to everyone, but now I disappear.
And so we've got a few comments here. There's nothing romantic about being left at the altar, Mary says. Amy says, if Adam is smart, then he would listen to OP for sure, for sure. Surprise weddings never go well. And that was from Dragon Lord. And then we also got a face palm from Amy here. And everyone's basically like, you should tell them, you should tell them. Mr. Superplush says, if she kept the secret, it would certainly show that Sarah and they are not compatible. It would really do that because, I mean, hopefully she wouldn't feel like pressured into marrying him on the spot there. I just don't know why any of his any of the family would agree to this.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like a good thing.
Yeah. And then Amy says, yes, as a good friend, you need to warn your friend. Everything OP is saying screams that her friend isn't down for this. Exactly. So, yeah, everyone is basically on board, being like, this is a bad idea. Don't do this.
I mean, the only time surprise weddings work is when the two people getting married are in on it.
Mhm.
And then they're like, oh, by the way, friends, we're getting married.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome, Jenna. Welcome to the live stream. So, yeah, why don't we move to the next story then? Our next letter is titled, Am I the jerk for stepping down from my maid of honor position after being publicly humiliated by the bride? I'm a 25-year-old female, and the bride is also 25. We'll call her M. We met freshman year of college back in 2016 and became friends. Shortly after returning home from the military for a few months, she got engaged to a mutual friend. We'll call him A. M asked me to be her maid of honor, and I happily took the position. For months now, I've repeatedly asked her if there was anything that I could do for her if she needs me to help with anything. Last month, she announced that she was pregnant, and I've made sure to check on her as much as I can. She has repeatedly told me that I don't need to help or do anything for her on the wedding. Yesterday, she called me to tell me to be at the dress fitting, and it was going to be taking place not even 30 minutes later. So yes, I was informed very last minute, and I had to reschedule my meeting with my PT, which was fine, and my PT understood how important this was. After arriving at the dress fitting, M started yelling at me and went even as far as pushing me for not fulfilling my role as the maid of honor and being late. Even though she told me not to do anything other than my speech and informed me of every event last minute, I apologized. I assumed that it was just the stress, and I didn't want to upset her any further. I thought that it was over, and she told me to get my stuff together, but nope. M decided that it was a good idea to publicly shame me for a assault that happened to me as a child. Even her own mother asked what in the world she said, and she repeated it even louder to where everyone was able to hear it. I didn't know if I should cry or beat it out, but I left instead. She knew that I never fully recovered from that and basically knows all of my triggers. I went straight to the gym and asked my job to get me in some therapy. I work at a shooting range. It didn't help, and multiple of friends were calling me and texting me, so of course I turned my phone off and I went home. I'm not proud of what I did. Once I went home, I pretty much drunk like a sailor. I once and scrolled through all the messages that I had received. Well, M wasn't very happy that I left the dress fitting and made sure to rip me apart in 3 texts online. One post stated that my behavior was the reason why I didn't have any friends when I returned home and I failed the Navy. I had to leave because I had stage 3 breast cancer and was recently cleared of it. This morning, she called me to tell me that I had no right leaving when she needed me, that I now had to pay for my own dress. I told her that she had no right to say what she did or even make my personal trauma public and to find a new maid of honor before hanging up. I even had gone as far as cutting off all ties by blocking her and anyone who tried shaming me and walking away. So, am I the jerk? Update. Wasn't sure how to do an update here. M's mom will call her Jay, posted online about what really happened at the dress fitting and apologized to me. We had a good talk about it and the next steps, and I told her that I was washing my hands of M. She's supporting my decision and wants me to at least keep in touch with her since I've already been adopted into their family. She suggested that maybe it's a jealousy issue because she won't stop talking about how successful I am. What she doesn't know is that the jealousy issue is because she won't stop talking to people about how successful I am and that I'm basically retired now. I did tell Jay that I'm nowhere near successful or retirement, but I've just been working my butt off to get what I need down. I've also found out that M reached out to my fiance to tell him that I was cheating. I didn't and will never cheat. After having a long break, he told me that we no longer had to hide our engagement. We didn't announce it because we didn't want to take the light off of M and her fiance. The plan was to announce it a few days after the wedding. My fiance made the announcement after our talk. And it looks like we might have a second page. I didn't realize this one was so long. Sorry about that, folks. I'll try to answer some questions, but I think that's probably going to be a good place to cut that off here. So what do you folks think? Oh my goodness, that was quite the story here.
Yeah, but no, OP, I do not blame you at all. What M did is very wrong, and it seems like she was just trying to make OP look bad on purpose. It seems like a malicious jealousy thing, like especially with that update that she's jealous of OP and wanted to use this as an opportunity to sabotage her, which like who does that? Who reveals someone's personal traumas in front of like everyone?
Yeah. I mean, this is really just going above. This was so petty. This was so mean-spirited. It was cruel, and taking and knowing someone's deepest, darkest secrets and basically using them as a weapon is not something that a friend does.
Yeah, like, and then not only that, but then also, oh, well, I know you had to leave the military because you had breast cancer, but I'm gonna pretend like you failed out.
Yeah. So this is all around. She just sounds like a terrible human being, and I don't blame OP for getting out of that situation at all.
Yeah, you do not need someone like that in your life. I'm really glad that M's mom was supportive of you and recognizes that what her daughter's doing isn't right, and hopefully everyone else involved in the situation can see the truth.
Yeah, I agree. And Amy says, wow, the bride is terrible and not the jerk. Dragon Lord says, oh no, OP, run. Yeah, this really needs to be one of those situations where we run. Mary says, sounds like the bride is just terrible and sucked out all the joy from the wedding. No reason to go now. Hope OP didn't send a gift yet. Yeah, well, that would be a waste of a gift. Amy says, not the jerk, and I hope she cuts the friend out of her life. I do too. So Maisie says, so me and my friend Maddie, we have the concept of a centrifuge when we watch these videos. It's where we put the people who are so nasty that there's little hope for rehabilitation. I like it. I like it a lot. Morgan says, not the jerk. Oh my goodness. Poor OP. I agree. Poor OP indeed. And Maisie says, this friend's bridezilla is girl bossing her way to the centrifuge. Yeah, I like the centrifuge idea. We need to get a centrifuge. I keep saying the word wrong. I know how to say centrifuge. I really do. Believe it or not. So, yeah, pretty much everyone is just saying gets worse and worse and worse, lying about the cheating.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Mary says, I vote for the centrifuge as well. All right, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for running away from my parents' house after finding out that I had a twin? I'm a 21-year-old female, and I live with my parents, a 50-year-old female, and a 52-year-old male. But I'm saving to buy my own apartment. When I was 5, I was in a car crash that left me hospitalized in a coma for half a year. When I woke up, I had lost most of my memories and had to relearn who everyone and everything was. Just recently, my mom decided to clean out the house and asked me to look through my old stuff in the attic to see if there was anything that I wanted and needed to be thrown away. I was up there and I found a box with my name and another boy's name written on it. Curious, I opened it and I found hundreds of photos of me and this kid that could have been a male version of me. We looked almost identical, and we were together in every picture. They were all taken before my accident, and I was confused on who he was. That was until I found mine and his birth certificates. Same last name, same birthday, same parents. I repacked the box and I went to ask my parents. They were in the living room and I began asking them who this boy was. Both of them go silent and look at each other before my dad began to explain. Turns out that I had a twin brother who died in the car wreck. The same one that I lost my memories in. They had a funeral while I was comatose, and when I woke up with no memories, they saw it as a way of not having me to go through the trauma of losing my sibling. I was angry, and I started yelling at them, telling them that I deserved to know that I had a brother, that they should have told me instead of me finding out. My mom started crying and tried to move closer, but I quickly jumped out of my seat and I moved to the furthest part of the room. They said that they had never thought that it was the best and that I should have. They said that they never thought it was the best and that I shouldn't have had to go through the trauma. I refused to listen and I ran upstairs. I packed my bags and walked out of the house with a box full of photos. My mom and dad were yelling at me to come back, but I refused to turn around. I went to my friend's house and I told them what happened. She offered me to let me stay there. That's what I decided to do for the time being. My mom has been trying to call me and has started getting my family to text me, asking if we could at least talk. I have nothing to say to them. I don't plan on forgiving them anytime soon, and I don't even want to look at them. So am I the jerk for running away from my parents' house after finding out I had a twin? All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think you're the jerk for having an emotional reaction. Like, this was a big thing to keep from you. And I understand the parents wanting to spare your feelings, but you have to assume that people are going to find things out then eventually, especially in this day and age.
Yeah. Well, and in this day and age, if they had just gotten rid of the photos or put them in gone through the stuff before letting her go through it, then they could have avoided this. I'm not saying that deception was the best course of action here.
No, well, and the thing is, like, yeah, it would be hard for the kid to learn she had a brother who died, but also if she didn't have the memories of him, like, it could have gone all sorts of ways. I understand not wanting to stress the kid and, maybe wait to introduce that for a little while, but I don't think keeping that information from her permanently and hoping she'd just never find out was the right course of action.
Yeah, I don't think it was the right course of action, but it's also, when do you bring something like that up even? And it's such a hard, difficult situation. I can't blame the parents for not sharing it for sure, but it also just feels like they should have eventually brought it up and told OP. But,
yeah, well, certainly more after she's recovered.
Yeah.
Not the first thing when she gets out of the hospital. Oh, by the way, let her get, reuse the environment. Because again, even if she doesn't remember him, that's going to make her feel all sorts of ways because, oh, I
Hmm.
had a brother and I was close to him and he died and like I don't have feelings and like I don't remember him.
Yeah, I can't blame OPs for being angry here.
Hmm.
And I think their parents did what they thought they needed to do to protect OP. And it's unfortunate that she now has to mourn and grieve this person. Like, they had the chance to mourn, they had the
Hmm.
chance to grieve. She's just now being able to mourn and grieve the loss of a person that she didn't even know was in her life. And that's certainly going to require a lot of time. It's going to require a lot of therapy. She just needs to sit and recollect herself because this is really a terrible situation.
Yeah, and so the parents really just need to back off and let her have her space and let her process.
Mm-hmm. So Mary says, "This is sad. The old adage about the road to to hell, it was paved with good intentions." I'll say it for
I
us
thought it was
today.
paved with adverbs.
It is paved with adverbs as well. Mr. Superplush says, "Oh no, that's so sad. It really is." Amy says, "Not the jerk. That was a terrible thing for the mom and dad to do." Jenna says they don't think that finding out that you have a hidden sibling that passed away is more traumatizing than just finding out that he passed. Amy says what they're going to do if OP got her memory back. Yeah, I mean, if they had recovered their memory fully, then that would have also brought in a lot of different complications too, right? Sometimes that happens, right? And Dragon Lord says, "Not the jerk, you're an adult. You should be allowed to leave for whatever reason you want." I agree on that. Jenna says, "Oh, that's a good point. Whatever her memory came back, she's going to need some time to process the fact that these people that she trusted the most lied about something so big, regardless of the reasoning."
Well, that's a good point too, is because that's part of what makes these sort of betrayals hurt so much, is you find
Mm-hmm.
out that someone who you trusted so much has been keeping this big thing from you, and they're like, what else in my life is a lie?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, what else did they lie about? What other past did I have before I lost all of my memories? And that was by Mr. Superplush. Amy says OP's allowed to take some time for herself as she just needs some space. I agree. I think that space is the best thing. And Morgan says, "Not the jerk." I agree. Very sad. Very difficult situation.
Hmm.
Yeah, the lying part, I agree. The lying part was probably the bit that was the most wrong here. But maybe one that's not quite so depressing. Maybe our Friday nights will be able to come up on the upswing here.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the one for that.
Is this not the one for that? Am I the jerk for telling my sister to dress more modestly? So, I'm a 20-year-old male, and I'm a college student, currently back home for the summer. I have a 15-year-old sister named Christina, or Chris. That's what we usually call her. Earlier this month, Chris was hanging out at a friend's apartment with a bunch of other people. That night, there was a fire in that apartment building. It wasn't just one of those small fires or somebody smoking in the building. She texted me telling me to come ASAP because it was a big deal. So I rushed over to the building. Everyone had evacuated, and all of the occupants were standing far away from the apartment complex. I found my sister in the crowd. She left our house dressed in jeans and a hoodie, but when I met her, she had stripped down to her shorts and a tank top. She was actually pulling up her tank top to wipe away tears and sweat from her face, therefore exposing her entire body and her bra as well. I got really, really embarrassed, and I was sort of shocked at my sister's lack of modesty. So I walked up to her, and the first thing I said was, "What happened to your clothes?" Chris pointed out to the lawn and told me that her clothes were in there, but that she had taken them off because it had gotten too hot. I told her, "Okay, we'll put them back on first. First of all." She got really angry at this moment, and while she was crying, she cried even harder and told me all about how she could have died. She was so terrified, and how bad that I was at comforting her. She also called me a creep. I got upset at her accusation of me being a creep, so I grabbed her arm and just dragged her to the car. She kept screaming for me to let go of her, and we went home together. I forgot to pick up her clothes from the lawn, unfortunately. Am I the jerk? I feel like my sister's anger was misplaced and really came out of nowhere. All right, folks, what do you think of this one?
Yeah,
Do the centrifuge or no?
yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, who finds someone who's just been in a traumatic, like almost dying situation and it's like, wear your clothes? Like, she's not thinking about all this stuff. She's thinking about how she almost died. She needs like reassurance that, like, oh, I'm so glad. Are you okay? How are you feeling? Like, I'm so glad you made it out, type
Yeah,
of
yeah,
things, and not like accusations. Like, the last thing she needs is to be berated.
yeah. Well, she went under a very traumatic event here, and that's really what this boils down to. She has suffered a trauma. Things of other people that she knows was probably lost. This was probably a scary situation if they had to run out of the building. If she actually has smoke on her, then there was probably smoke in the building when she was
Mm-hmm.
evacuating. That can be a really scary situation.
And like, if you're like feeling afraid that she's not thinking about what she's doing and like, oh, she's exposing herself, she might not like that. Like, he could have offered her like a tissue or his sleeve or something, but
Yeah,
like,
a tissue, right? I mean, how hard would it have been to offer a little compassion, a little kindness to say, hey, let's get you home, let's get you cleaned up. I know that this has been really hard on you. So,
but why he's embarrassed? Like, that's the part I think. Well, there's so many bad layers to it, but oh, I was so embarrassed. It's like, because my sister is immodest. It's like, this isn't you.
mm-hmm.
And like, nobody except really ridiculous people is going to care.
Exactly, exactly. And Amy says, "Oh no, I hate dress shaming." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. And with a raging fire going on, OP really thinks the crowd is paying attention to the sister's attire. I mean, that's actually a really good point. No one cares about what their sister is wearing at that very moment, right? Morgan says, "You're the jerk. Oh my goodness, she had to run out of a burning building." And priorities. Priorities are very important here.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Lord says, "Major jerk into the centrifuge with this one." I
Mm-hmm.
agree. Into the centrifuge. And Amy says, "The poor girl is going through a scary, traumatic situation, and the only thing OP can think to do is shame her for her lack of clothing." Yes, the centrifuge to the max. I agree. I agree. We need more centrifuge in our lives. Oh no! I forgot how terrible this next letter is.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
We've really made a horrifying lineup here, folks. Our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for not letting my father-in-law babysit or hold my daughter?" I don't know. Maybe we should skip this one.
Yeah, we can skip it for
Yeah,
now.
we'll skip this one for now, people. This one is maybe a little too traumatic. Everything is
I mean,
traumatic.
this was not
This
bad.
one's not too bad.
This was just weird.
This one's very, very weird. Amy's like, I can take it. All right, all right, all right, fine, fine. We'll do the very traumatic one here. Oh no. Yeah, put him into the centrifuge. Everyone wants to see it now. I've already revealed the title. It's too late. Am I the jerk for not letting my father-in-law babysit or hold my daughter? All right, y'all. You're looking for an absolute terrible show. You found it. I'm a 20-year-old female, and I don't want my father-in-law, a 47-year-old male, to hold or watch or really interact with my daughter, who's 6 months old. 6 months old. Some background I feel is necessary to plead my case here. I live with my now 20-year-old male husband in high school. Throughout the years, there were many times when his dad would get belligerently drunk and just come into my husband's room, rip him out of bed and drag him outside, and then beat him. My husband was capable of fighting back and had to resort to breaking his dad's nose at one point in time. I was a witness to this every 2 weeks or so for years. I, of course, did call the police eventually and were kicked out. We graduated high school together and we graduated with honors living in my car. My husband has now an amazing job and we live in a beautiful home and have a baby girl who lights up our life. However, once we moved a state away, his dad started reaching out and they started talking weekly. My mother-in-law would call every day, super late at night. They would never mention anything that had happened. When I found out that I was pregnant, I decided, with a little objection from my husband, that we don't tell them until later in the pregnancy because I don't want the stress. So we told them around 25 weeks, and my mother-in-law became obsessed with me. She was like a whole other person. Once I gave birth, she stopped talking to me completely and would just request pictures of my husband and daughter daily. Now here's the issue. We were taking a trip and visiting a friend in our hometown for a wedding, and we'll be staying at their house for half of the time, 1 week. The other half, my day, the other half day, my husband was having a conversation. Oh, the other day, my husband was having a conversation with his father on speakerphone, and was obvious that he had been drinking. I'm listening quietly, and suddenly he starts talking about how he can't wait to do skin to skin with my daughter and put her between his chests. He was continued to say how nice baby skin was and how he wants to feel how soft her bottom is. That he loves baby skin, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read all this. I was horrified and speechless. And when I looked at my husband, I could tell that he felt the same. He kept saying things like that, and we told him that he had to go. I was so shocked and confused that I didn't know what to say, and I didn't address it in that moment. I feel terrible for not saying something to him. He also has 2 adult daughters who don't talk to him, and a 13-year-old daughter who's still at home. My husband has since dismissed it as him being drunk, and we are still going on this trip. My father-in-law freaks me out. He's like a very dark, heavy smoke cloud on a very nice day in the forest, you all. My gut is screaming at me not to ever let him hold my little girl. Maybe I'm young, first-time mom, overreacting, but it's a big fight between my husband and I over this. He wants to have a relationship with him and spend time with him. He's not okay with him being alone with her, but still wants them to interact. I told him that it's not happening. Am I the jerk here? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, this is trust your gut here, OP. Like, this man seems creepy, very, very creepy. And you know what they say about alcohol, like making you speak the truth, basically. Like, it says something about his character if he says these things, even if it's drunk. And he's someone who drinks, so that's part of who he is, you know?
I mean, this is not a good situation. The way he's talking about this so casually, so cavalier, makes me very, very, very uncomfortable.
And especially where he has 2 adult daughters who don't talk to him.
Yeah.
And, like, that also does not give me warm fuzzies. Well, and this man has physically abused your husband when he was in high school.
Yeah.
Like, he's an abuser. It's just all around bad situation.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a terrible one. I'm sorry, folks. I tried to warn you. I tried to steer us away from this one. Everyone's like, gross. Maybe they should have waited until the daughter was old enough to decide for herself. No, stop from Mary. Toss the father-in-law, Amy says. For good reason, he creeps her out. Jenna says someone should get that 13-year-old out of there. Oh my goodness. Yes. That 13-year-old needs to be removed immediately. Just terrible. Terrible. Dragon Lord says, that's terrifying. Do not let this man near your child. I agree. Like, I would not let him, like, within 100 feet of a school.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, well, and the thing is, like, it's one of those situations where, like, worst case scenario, and you're wrong about his intentions. He just doesn't spend time with the child. But, like, if the absolute worst happens, like, it's so much worse than that. Like, in the weighing things, it's like, just don't take that chance even.
Exactly. And Mary says, you cannot overreact to this. I agree. You cannot. Really, you can't. Maisie says, no, if somebody can't be trusted to be alone with a child, they cannot be trusted, period. Yeah, I mean, that's just it. It's like, you don't want him alone with the child.
Then why would you trust him with the child, period? Exactly.
Oh, no. Morgan says, oh no, oh my, glad they at least got out of the house, but what in the world? Doesn't get better now. Very creepy. Maisie says, if you give an inch, they will make you give a foot. No, this is not the only, is the only answer. No is the only answer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Mary says, I sure hope there's plenty of room in your centrifuge, Maisie. I hope so as well, because I don't think it's getting any better here, folks. We've got a lot of terrible stories ahead of us
Well, the
here.
next one's better.
Next one's a little. It's not like we've acclimatized you to the terribleness now.
Yes.
So now everything from here is going to be like, oh, it isn't creepy guy, so it must be all right, not the jerk. Oh no. Amy says, not the jerk. First, mother-in-law treats OP like an incubator, ignoring her and wanting the baby photos. But the father-in-law, the way he treated OP's husband, none of the kids want contacted with him. His comments are so gross. Yeah, like I actually think the incubator comment's really, really good.
Yeah, well, and then you kind of forget it all when you read the rest of the post. But yeah, it's true that mother-in-law doesn't seem like a great person either for them to be around.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a good situation. Dragon Lord says if OP's husband is willing to take the risk, if OP's husband is willing to risk the safety of their daughter in order to form some father-son relationship with this man, maybe OP should have a new husband. New husband, probably. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to be a sperm donor for my sister and her wife? I'm a 30-year-old male, and I'm not sure how to describe this. It's a really weird situation. My sister is a 27-year-old female, and her wife, Lily, a 29-year-old female, have been married for 2 years. They are trying for a baby. But having a random sperm donor will increase the chances of future incest amongst the kids. So they have been looking for somebody who they can trust. That's really weird because a lot of the banks there, don't allow people to donate multiple times.
Well, there's a lot of scare things that happen because originally the banks weren't regulated and you would have that kind of situation happen, but it's not the same these days.
Yeah. So the problem is that Lily was my ex 10 years ago. We dated for 3 or 4 years before calling it quits because she told me that she liked girls. Her and my sister started dating shortly after that. I was devastated, but I moved on because I met my wife, a 33-year-old female, a few years later. We have a daughter and now are expecting another baby. We announced our pregnancy in a family function and everyone was thrilled. My sister approached me and asked me if I would be willing to donate for them and get Lily pregnant. I said no. That was weird. She told me that it isn't a big deal because Lily and I used to date. If we continue dating and married later, then we would have been pregnant anyways. Plus, there would be less of a chance of this incest happening because it will be from someone they know. She thinks that this is a brilliant plan. I still refused. She's now playing the victim card and told everyone in our family that me and my wife are homophobic. And we do not want a happy lesbian couple to have a family. My wife said that she would leave me if I said yes. I know I will not because this is just weird. But am I wrong? Should I just have helped my sister? So, for those who are wondering about the future incest thing, it's basically that they think that if they use a random donor, that there's a chance when the kids grow up that they will be at the age of marriage or relationship. It will increase the possibility that they might end up marrying their half-sibling from the same sperm donor. They have thought about choosing a close family member to donate sperm. It would decrease the probability and make it 0. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, first of all, you are never obligated to do things with your body that you don't want to. So, regardless of the reason, if you don't want to be a sperm donor, you don't have to be a sperm donor.
Yeah.
But on top of that, like, getting involved with family is not a good idea in a lot of these situations. And the way they're trying to paint it out as homophobia when you're just not comfortable with being a sperm donor is just disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those situations where OP is entitled to do with their body as they want. And certainly there could be perfectly ethical and legal ways of going about him doing this procedure. Because you can actually donate and then have the doctor do the insemination and whatnot. But OP's not obligated to do that. He and his wife sounds like she's really not down for this idea either.
Yeah, and when you have a partner, like that's really a conversation that needs to be both need to be on board for, because things can and do go wrong, and we see this on Am I the Jerk all the time.
Yeah.
You know, what if something happens to the parents? You know, are they going to want you to raise this child?
Yeah.
Are they going to take you for child support? Like,
Or is the kid going to appear back in your life in 10 years and be like, oh, you're my real dad?
yeah,
right?
like, are they going to tell, the kid who their biological parentage is? Because even if they don't encourage things, the kid may become attached to you because of that.
Yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of cans of worms that if you're not interested in it, that is totally fine, and you shouldn't say yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really just a weird situation. I agree. I can understand why OP feels uncomfortable with it, and I don't think that they should feel obligated, and it certainly doesn't make them homophobic to not want to do this, right? That's not. They're not. There are all kinds of ways for this couple to acquire children. They can adopt. They can go through someone else. There's any number of ways of approaching this. It's not up to OP to make them fulfilled. So that's kind of my thought. Amy says, this one sounds messy. You're right. It was very messy. Mary says, is there a way to get an ironclad legal agreement that OP will not be held responsible for child support down their line? Because that's a real concern. It really is. It really is. Morgan says, Amy says, not the jerk, I get the concern, but they should find someone outside of the family. And I agree on that. And the reason why is because family is actually really close. It's going to be easy for the kid to find out who their, biological parent is. And that can get really messy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if they're willing to manipulate OP over this situation, do you really want them to have that kind of power over you either? Like, they're already spinning this weird narrative, and so...
Exactly. Morgan says, not the jerk, that's something that is really OP's decision, but why not? I would feel it would be the nice thing, but I'm not going to call OP the jerk for their decision, right? And I mean, we've had situations where people have donated to family members, and it might be perfectly fine, right? But I do think that, it needs to be OP's decision at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, I have read so much Am I the Jerk that I'm very cynical of these days. Like, I read one a few weeks ago where OP donated for his sister and her wife, and all of a sudden they told their kid that he was their bio dad, and the kid just started showing up at their house all the time. Yeah. And they were expecting, like, him to start taking her on family trips because you're her parent too, and why are you treating her differently than your bio kids?
Exactly.
You're raising.
It happens. And Dragonlord says, not the jerk, you're not obligated to do anything you're not comfortable with doing. And Amy says, it's OP's body, and I get them not wanting to go through with it if the wife isn't comfortable. Also, OP never specified that he ever wanted to father kids, and the fact that it's his ex makes the situation awkward. It really does. It really, really does. Speaking of awkward, our next letter is titled, I'm a 27-year-old female, fiance, a 27-year-old male, wants more kids after we agreed to only have one. All right, folks, what do you think? Put your bets in right now, centrifuge or no.
I mean, OP or him, because he's not going to the centrifuge.
Well, I don't think OP's going to the centrifuge. We're not going to do the TLDR. We'll just go straight into the story. I'm a 27-year-old female, and my fiance is a 27-year-old male, and we've been together since our second year of college. We've always had very similar life goals, very similar dreams, and values. We both wanted to be married before 30, wanted to have a successful career before having children, wanted to buy a house and settle down, and most importantly, we only wanted one child. I grew up an only child, and he grew up with siblings who had a very bad relationship with now, so it was what we both wanted for the long term. We got engaged 2 years ago, but the universe threw us a curveball, and a few months later, after we got engaged, we found out that I was pregnant. A complete accident. Birth control isn't 100% effective. We were in a place in our lives where, apart from the wedding, this was a good time to have a child. So we both had steady jobs, a reliable income, transportation, etc. We decided to postpone the wedding until after our daughter was born. She was born in May of last year, and things were obviously hectic for a while we adjusted to being parents. We haven't had really talked about we haven't talked about having more kids at all because I figured that she was our one and done. We both absolutely adore her, but that hasn't changed my mind at all. In fact, it makes me more adamant that I want only one. Since he never brought up the topic, I didn't either, because we were very clear before she was born that we both only wanted the same thing. The only time I could think of it coming up was a couple months ago when one of my friends told me that she was pregnant, and I was telling about how sick she was, and he said, "So glad that I don't have to do," and I said that I'm so glad that I don't have to do that again. He kind of laughed and got really quiet, and when I asked him about it, he said that he just wasn't feeling well. Bad sign. Bad
Mm-hmm.
sign. Now, we're a few weeks away from getting married and decided to go out for dinner last night because we had barely seen each other lately with all of the preparations and parenting duties and such. We hired a babysitter and made a reservation, got dressed up, and went to a really nice restaurant. Dinner was going fine, and we were having a really great time until he mentioned that he had something that he wanted to talk to me about. He admitted that he wants more children. And I was initially shocked, but I asked him about it, why he felt this way, how long he had felt this way, and he vaguely replied, yet he just kept talking in circles and saying that he just wants more. I asked if he wanted to leave the restaurant because it seemed more like a serious conversation, but he was very persistent that we stay. He began talking about his dream to have lots of kids, like 6 or more, and plenty of grandchildren to be around when we were older, and a big family dinner. It kind of shocked me, but I told him plainly that I did not want more kids. I could not imagine having our daughter, but I also couldn't imagine having so many kids that I wouldn't feel like I'd have any time to give our daughter the attention that she deserves growing up. I simply said that I would not have more kids, and that I thought we had agreed on that a long time ago. He said that he had changed his mind, then got up and left the restaurant, leaving the keys. He didn't come home that night, but in the morning he stopped by and grabbed some clothes, then asked me if I had reconsidered. I had told him that there was nothing to consider, that we had agreed on this a long time ago, and he left without another word. It's been a day, and I haven't talked to him since, but he's texted me the address of the hotel and said that I can stop by with the baby if I have changed my mind about talking. I don't know what to do. All right, folks, what do you think?
I think do not marry this man. I mean, I understand that people sometimes change their mind, but I feel like this may be one of those cases where he was like, I'm gonna wait until she's baby trapped and then spring it on her,
Yeah,
you know. Um, because that's not the kind of conversation that you like. It also seems like using the restaurant to try and pressure her, like, oh, we're gonna have this in a public place, so you can't say no.
yeah,
And then doing like, I love how he's like, I want all these kids, but I'm gonna leave the baby with you, and you're gonna have to take care of the baby all by yourself until you come around to my side of things, and then you can find me at the hotel. Like, I'm wondering if OP does. I think she says this in the comments, but I can't remember now. But I'm wondering if she does the majority of the child care,
yeah.
and he just wants to be like one of those fun parents who
Yeah, 6 kids plus.
and he doesn't care at all about the physical toll it has on her
Yeah.
or anything. Like,
I mean, she already said that she was so happy that she didn't have to do this again. And I
yeah.
mean, it's like one of those things where I just I can't even imagine what she went through the first time around,
Mm-hmm.
and then to go through that 5 more
I
times
just want you to
plus.
do this at least 5 more times for me. I know you suffered a lot, but this is all for my benefit, so it's fine.
Yeah. And it's really unfortunate. But when two people no longer have the same mutual goals in a relationship and their irreconcilable differences, at that point in time, it's probably best to just cut it, right? I mean,
Exactly. Like, I know it's hard, especially now that you're co-parenting, but like, I think he's gonna keep trying to manipulate you, OP, if you stay with him, and you
mm-hmm.
don't want to be trapped in a situation where he's forcing you to have kids that you aren't ready to don't want to have, aren't ready to care for.
Yeah, exactly. And Amy says, sure, the birth control failed or you were baby trapped. Oh, that's actually a really good question. Like, did it fail? Mary says, 2 yes, 1 no. OP says no more. End of the debate. I agree. I agree on that, Mary. Amy says, I think that they need to get this figured out before they go through the wedding. Yeah. And a couple's counseling ASAP. Why wasn't his dream mentioned before they got engaged? Yes, this screams baby trapping. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of it before, but you're right. It does actually sound more and more like baby trapping. Mary says 6 or more, and OP can stop by the hotel with the baby?
Yeah.
This guy wants 5 more. Like I said, folks, there's a centrifuge waiting for him. And Maisie says, he's emotionally blackmailing her into being a baby machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's actually really sad because like he is really trying to pressure her into this, and this is coercion. And you should not coerce people into having children if they don't want children.
Right, like, and if you change your mind, it's fine to be like, I actually really want more kids now. I don't think we're going to be compatible in this relationship, and then you can part ways amicably. But you can't be like, okay, you need to start popping out kids ASAP because I want at least 6.
Yeah, no good. No good at all. Morgan says, not the jerk, you can't make someone have a kid. Oh no. Yeah, dump him. Life goals are no longer compatible. Amy says, or say, oh, look, you get the procedure where you can give birth now. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is so many of these stories, it's the partner who cannot have kids who's like, yeah, I want all these kids, and oh, I know you suffered, but like, you can do it again. All these women are having babies, and they're fine.
Yeah, like, why aren't you wanting more babies? Well, folks, let's stop for some tea time. How's that sound? All right, folks, it's tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. We need something to cleanse the palate from the terrible, terrible stories that we've suffered through. I've got some tea right here, as you can tell from the tea dangly thing. What is the tea dangling thing called? You know, I never really gave it much thought. Amber's got a joke, allegedly.
What did the girlfriend say to the billy goat?
Oh, you know, I know what the girlfriend said to the billy goat. So, the girlfriend and the billy goat, they were actually really close friends. A little too close. And they were conspiring to get rid of the boyfriend, in fact. And so they started talking and they started conspiring, and then before you know it, they had made these terrible, horrible plans that involved luring the boyfriend to a bridge where a troll would jump out and eat him. And it was horrible. It was horrible. I don't know. That's what the billy goat said to them.
That's quite the twist for a children's book. But it's, you have goat to be kidding me.
You've got goat to be kidding me. That sounds like something a Canadian would say. I don't know if we have any Canadian viewers. But I'm not making fun of the way you say things. Amber and I are almost Canadian. Yeah. We're regretfully not Canadian sometimes. So, Morgan's guessing licorice spice. Mary has some Diet Coke. I hope you enjoy your Diet Coke. Mary wants to say I have Mega Mint. Have you ever tried Constant Comment by Bigelow? It's my absolute favorite tea. I've actually had it. It's a very good tea. I actually enjoy that one a lot. Dragon Lord says, I'm guessing Earl Grey. Maisie says, but currently my tea is rumen flavored popsicles. It's all right. I thought you said ramen there for a second. I was like, ramen flavored popsicles. Now that would be a interesting flavor. Hopefully, if anyone's ever had a ramen flavored popsicle, let me know how it tasted. I bet you if you were like sick,
the salt, like, so it feels like the broth. Yeah.
It might be like if you have like a sore throat.
I still don't know that I'd want it in popsicle form though. I feel like that's one of those tastes that's best served warm.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So let's see. Amy's drinking a home-brewed pale ale. Well, I hope you enjoy your home-brewed pale ale. Sounds delicious. It wasn't a bad joke. It wasn't a bad joke. And Mega Mint. So, folks, if you guessed a Mega Mint, you were absolutely right. All right, we got a couple more stories in us today, so let's jump into the next story. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Son That He Has to Stay in His Room When We Have Company?
Oh, I think we need more space in the centrifuge.
Oh no, folks. Oh no. I'm a 50-year-old male, and my ex-wife, a 45-year-old female, has been divorced for 14 years now. We have one child together, Rain, an 18-year-old male. And since I've remarried and have had 3 children from my current wife, she's a 48-year-old female, the kids are 8, 15, and 19. The customary arrangement that we've had since Rain's been a teenager is that he spends 3 months at his mother's house and then 3 months at mine. Rain recently turned 18 during the 3-month period that stays with me. And during the stay with me. And since then, he's had to pay rent for his own food, and the rest of the time he stays here. He wasn't necessarily expecting it, but he wasn't a brat about it. He picked up a job quickly and has paid for his first month of rent. No issue there. He also is putting aside money into his college fund so he can attend university next year. No issue there either. But apparently, he's not been budgeting properly because he's always hungry. He eats all right, but he wastes his money on junk food instead of buying substantial meals. As a result, he goes through periods where he gets borigami, I'm not sure what that is, or it's nothing too loud, I guess like tummy rumblings, but it's noticeable if the room is relatively quiet. Last time I had my sister over, she noticed and I said that he just had a stomach ache. We're expecting company again this week, and I don't want something like that happening again. So I explained to Rain that he can introduce himself to our guest and then leave if he needs to stay in his room until they leave. Rain got mad at me and argued that he didn't know how long the guest would be staying, and that he can't help if he's starving out here. I reminded him that he's not starving, but even if he was, it's not my fault. He agreed to the rules when he got here. Okay, he's a paying... I can't stop myself. He's paying rent. He's a tenant. You can't just kick him out. And why? You say this isn't your fault? What do you mean this isn't your fault? He's your literal child. You're starving your child. What is wrong with this man? And Rain said that he isn't blaming me for it, but he's not following my dumb rules regarding the guests, even after I told him that they'll only be here for about an hour. I'm worried because he's mad now, and he's being all dramatic about how he doesn't get enough food in front of our guests. And even though it's none of my fault, that somehow gets to my ex-wife. I don't know what she'll say, and I don't feel like dealing with that drama. I also feel like he's trying to emotionally manipulate me with the starving comment. Am I the jerk? Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
OP, yes, you're the jerk. Feed your kid. Like, just because he's 18 doesn't mean you can just, like, basically be like, okay, get a job now and pay for everything. And, like, just expecting him to know, like, how to make meals if you've never taught him that, how to, like, budget his money for meals, like, all of this stuff. Like, he is your child. He may be legally an adult, but it's still your responsibility to feed him. I hope your ex-wife is a decent person and finds out about this and encourages him to go live with her full time. Like, I honestly don't know why he hasn't gone to her, why he's putting up with your nonsense, because he seems like a perfectly reasonable person, but I think you need time in the centrifuge.
So, okay. I think that there's a point in time when parents are allowed to allow children to be on their own. And certainly, if you're a parent, I can't imagine there ever being a time where you would willingly not offer your children food, right? I think that that's a bit cruel. And certainly I think that OP, you have to consider that your son was not expecting to have to pay rent.
Hmm.
He went out and he got a job and he's trying to do his best here, but he can't afford maybe the food that he's used to and a lifestyle that he's not really accustomed to.
Yeah.
And this was sprung on him.
Well, exactly. That was the additional part too. Is like he wasn't expecting this. You're just like, oh, by the way, you're 18, pay rent now, and buy all your own food. And like, but you're also still treating him like a child at the same time. Like, oh, well, my house, my rules. You have to go stay in your room, type of deal.
Yeah,
like he can't be both a paying tenant and treated like a child.
Yeah. And I just really don't understand the reasoning here that OP has. I couldn't ever imagine having food in my house and even not allowing a complete stranger who I don't know and not offering them food, right?
I'm also wondering too about the child he has with his wife who's 19. Like, is she paying rent as well? Or is she like, is he being singled out because he's not OP's wife's child?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering, because I think that if this was completely unexpected for the son, then either he didn't know that the 19-year-old was paying rent, or I don't think the 19-year-old's paying rent. I mean, this is certainly speculative. I have no idea whether that's the case or not, but I certainly think that if you're a parent, you shouldn't let your kid starve. I mean, maybe he's being irresponsible with his money and he needs to learn how to be more responsible with it, but that is also not a good lesson to teach him.
Well, it's your responsibility to help your child. Like, if you've never taught him budgeting and how to like find nutritious and balanced foods, like you can't expect him to just intuit that magically.
Yeah. So we've got some, and Amy asks if that was a favorite of mine. Mega Mint is a really good tea in the respect that it's very soothing. So if you're reading a lot, that's why. I mean, that's why I like Licorice Spice. It's very soothing on the throat. I like Mega Mint. It's very soothing on the throat. So that's why I actually like these teas. They're good for if you're doing a lot of reading. And then let's see. This is off to a bleak start. I agree. And it's OP Mr. Dursley. That was from Amy. Yeah, I would think so. I think he is. Dragon Lord says, my first thought was Mr. Dursley as well. We've got a centrifuge full of Mr. Dursleys. Amy Lynn says, Vernon Dursley, just stop. We know that you're starving Harry and charging him rent. Mary says, loud tummy rumbles. Have you tried feeding him?
Yeah.
Gee Louise. I can't imagine treating a stranger like this. You're the jerk. Yeah, that's how I feel, Mary. I wouldn't even want to let a stranger starve if I had the ability. Dragonlord says, you're the jerk. You are letting your son starve. Morgan says, you're the jerk. What? Oh my gosh. Ridiculous. Mary says, do they feed the family dog? Probably. And they probably feed the family dog better than the son, as Amy also says. So, the dog's getting the son's portion of food. I agree. That is the case probably here. But folks, we've reached the end of the line here. And while this does say our next live stream is June 30th, that is
a lie.
That is a lie, and I'm a dirty liar. Our next live stream is actually going to be on July 28th. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy live stream. Look, it's an amber head. It's a floating disembodied head.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully you had a lot of fun too. This has been a centrifuge full of fun. I agree. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you, Maisie. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Mary. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Dragon Lord. So many thank yous. I had a great time. I enjoyed myself tremendously. And I hope you did too. Even if the stories were horrifying train wrecks. Dumpster fires, even. Hopefully you all have a great weekend. And I guess we'll see you all here in the future.
Bye.
Bye.